Okay, good morning, folks. Today is a brand new day, and what I'm going to do today, the objective of today is to grout this backsplash. And before I grout it, I have to clean it. So basically, at this point, it's a no-brainer. We have to straighten the camera. The camera looks crooked. There we go. A little better now. Basically, we're just taking out all these tees. These spacer tees that we put in, these little white spacer tees right here, that's what they look like, right there, yep, yep, nothing fancy. So, just pulling them out, and it takes some time, obviously. It's not, it goes pretty quick, but it's kind of a monotonous stage. Sometimes some of them get stuck, so we just need a little help prying them out with the little tool. In this case, I use a utility knife. Sometimes I have to use a pair of pliers, and sometimes I have to cut them out. All depends on how much mortar is on them. I try to keep them clean. I did a decent job on this project, I think, of keeping everything clean because I mortared the wall and not the tile, and that helped. And I didn't put enough on the wall to make it squeeze out the grout lines in too many places. Now, it did happen in a couple. It's not perfect. It's 90%, but not perfect. So yeah, it's just kind of just pulling this out. And then as I go along, I kind of keep track of it as I'm going along, pulling. If there's any mortar on the side of the tile, I'll take a knife and I'll just scrape the edge of the tile, and that takes the excess mortar out of the grout line, if there is any. This one here is actually pretty decent, pretty clean actually. I'm quite impressed with it. Did a decent job. There is still some, don't get me wrong. It's not perfect, but there is still some. Now, this is quite a porous tile. It's not, I think it's going to, dirt and stuff is going to stick to it really good. At this stage, just because, like my mortar, if there's any mortar on it, it's going to stick to it good. I'm going to have to scrub it decent. Just a couple spots I'm noticing so far. Nothing too major. A couple back here in the corner. One spot right here by the plug-in. Couple spots over here. But I think they'll wipe off with water and the sponge or rag. And once I do this, to get this all cleaned out, as I'm going, any excess mortar that might be at the edge of the tile where it might affect the grout, I'm just getting rid of it at the same time. There's no point in going over the same place twice. And not even that, but by pulling these grout tees out and cleaning it at the same time, you know exactly where you've been. Because you're doing it all at the same time. So that'll help you. So. Sorry for having my back to the camera a lot. I will spin you around and show you the job here in a second. Well, not in a second, in a few minutes. Once I get it done. This stage goes pretty quick, as you noticed. I've probably only been doing it for a couple minutes now. And they're not in there by much. Some of them are. Some of them get stuck and I have to pry them. But again, most of them aren't too bad. I've noticed I put my microphone on today because some of my videos yesterday were like I was talking to the wall, which I kind of am, I guess. So, the stage is going pretty quick. Not much to really tell about this stage. I mean, some of these you have to wiggle, some of them will fall right out. Some of them you have to pry out, some of them you have to pull out with a pair of pliers. Some of them you have to cut out. This one here, I think we're all right. I don't think we're going to be doing any cutting of anything, I don't think. Oh, there we go. Speak too loudly and things happen. There's one grout T that split off. So basically I'm just going to run my knife into the corner of it and then run it to the other side, and it'll kind of break off or cut off, I guess, in this down below the grout, the finished grout line. And then you should be able to read over anything that's left. As long as it's not at the surface. Make sure it's like halfway, at least halfway back into the tile grout line before you leave it, because if you don't, well, it'll appear out to the front of your grout once you finish, and then you have a mess. Then you have to dig it out, regrout, all the no fun stuff. So basically, this section is not too bad. So there's half, 3/4 of this section. Now I have a little corner over here to do the exact same thing where the plug-in is at the wall and around the window. And I'll get at that real quick. Going pretty quick, nothing to it. Now, there's covers on the countertop. The covering on the countertop I cannot leave on there at the grout stage. I have to take it back off. And the reason why I do that is because if I get any grout on the countertop, I can't necessarily clean it the way I want to. I like to keep things good and clean. When I'm done, I want it to be done. I don't need any stains or any reason for grout to be stuck to the countertop. And for instance, there's a piece of mortar back here in the corner I'm noticing that slipped underneath the covering. If I didn't have it covered all the way like this, I wouldn't have that issue because I would have seen it yesterday, not today, when I did it. But it's not too bad. It's only been less than, I don't know, less than 24 hours. How's that? Since I installed this, so it should wipe right off with the rag. So it's not a real big deal, just something you need to be aware of, especially if you go away for the weekend and then come back to a project. You need to make sure that everything's good. So there. Now, here it is. The whole entire project. Spun you around. Ready for grout here. Just going to wipe it down. That is a little bit of mortar right here in these spots. And they'll wipe it off with the rag. Just like a smudge of mortar. It's not like a big cake. And it's how tight all tiles are cut. Everything looks really nice, actually. I'm quite impressed. I really like this backsplash. I almost want it for my own house. It's better. It's not just traditional. It's not the traditional tile with the color in it. It's actually like a stone. It actually feels like a stone when you're feeling it. It feels like a real stone, even though I think it is porcelain. I said it was ceramic the other day, but it's porcelain. So, and we'll go over here, show you the exact same thing. Everything looks beautiful. Cut nice and even against that board. Now, the customer did tell me that they are going to make a fake piece of wood out of an old barn beam that they have here to match the rest of it, to match the wood over here. They're going to do that exact same thing here. And once they're done that, then that'll look amazing. That'll finish that off. And they'll be under Cadner lighting. And I cut a notch for that in 3 places. There's one on each side of the window here as well. So, okay, so now I'm through that stage. So now I'm going to take a bucket and some water and a rag, and I'm going to go and try to clean that off. Now, in the cleaning process here, I did notice, I checked the plug, and I did notice that these are decor switches. And the decor switches, the cover plate hole is lower than the hole for the screw that holds the fixture. into the plug boxes. So now I just have to do something very carefully here without making a mess. I'm going to make some dust, but I got to be very careful here. I have to make a spot for the switch cover plate. So here we go. Now, this is a marble countertop, and I will not put this down on it for sure. I mean, that's a little crazy. So you just got to be careful and be aware of your surroundings. Unless you have deep pocketbooks and you want to pay for a new countertop, go ahead. So anyway, so now I've got that figured out, and it looks like, it appears to be, that everything there is going to line up now. I'm not going to put the covers on these switches. I'm not going to do the switches here, or the plugins, and the reason why is because the homeowner is going to do them. He pulled them out, so he's going to put them back in, he said, so no big deal. So it's okay with me either way. He'll just have to get longer. Only take him a couple minutes, and he'll just have to get longer screws because the screws will not fit anymore. The screws are too short. So it just appears that I'm just double checking everything. Well, I have the grinder out, and it looks like it's just the one box we had to worry about. So we're lucky on that one. Usually you don't have to deal with that once in a while. If you do it every day like I do, you get the odd one that you will have to deal with like that, because just the way the nature of the beast, it's not a big deal. Just got to have means or know how to fix it, that's all. And we do. So, moving on to the next stage, and what I'm doing now is I've already cleaned up everything here. So I'm just trying to clean up my tees on this side over here. Clean up the tees and take the plastic off the countertop, and then I'm going to get a shop vac out, and I'm going to shop vac in between the grout lines to make sure there's no dirt and debris inside of those grout lines before I wash it. And when I wash it, I'm not going to soak it. I'm not going to soak the tile with water. I'm just going to soak the rag and then dampen the rag and wipe the front. And that's the best method, because if you get water in the grout line, what will happen is it'll make your grout bubble if it's still wet when we go to the grout stage. So that's just a little trick. You might not know, or you might know, I don't know. So I'm going to leave you at that. I'm going to clean up this mess. I'm going to uncover this because there's no point in showing you footage on that. It's boring. You know how to clean up your own mess, I'm sure. So, see you in a minute. That's one side. Go for side two. But when we're doing this, get crumbs and stuff on the floor, on the water. So I like to vacuum it all up, keep it from scratching the floor. With a brand new engineered hardwood floor underneath this project. Now that worked out very well. That's a 6 horsepower shop vac, and I'm telling you, I might actually upgrade to that myself. This is a customer's shop vac. I've just used it. It's sitting here. So, so that's done. So now what I'm going to do is grab a bucket, which I have, with a little bit of water in it, and a shop towel I'm going to use for now, because shop towel actually is a nice absorber. And that'll make sure that I don't have the excess water in places where I don't want it. Or did I see that? Now, I just seen a little spot here. The other good thing about shop towel is that if it's wet and you stick it in the grout line, it'll actually peel out any, if you scrape anything, it'll actually peel the dust out. So that's good. So I'm just giving it a quick wipe, just to make sure that anything that's on there that's white is not mortar. There is a white in the tile, a little bit of a white texture, I guess. They made it look like a real wasp rock. So they did a nice job. The manufacturer did, of making it look real, that's for sure. And this rag is not dripping. I don't need this rag to drip. I don't want that much water on this. I want to be able to know that I'm actually scrubbing it and picking it up without making sure that I'm just soaking it and not getting through it. You can actually tell the difference. One thing is, if you're soaking it, it's going to drip everywhere. You don't want that to be the case at this stage. We want to stay dry as we can. So, There's some mortar on the countertop right there, and it just wiped up just like butter. Not a big deal. It's just a little tiny haze of a mortar, I guess. Now, I have a little bit of grout, or mortar, right here at the end by the countertop, and I'm straight at the edge of my tile. So I had to dig at that, and by doing that, you have to be careful. You don't want to dig your countertop. Make sure the knife blade stays inside the grout line. Rinse your rag. Just make sure you get all the excess water out of it. If you want to grout it right away, if you're not really caring that you grout it in the next hour or two, then don't worry about making sure that your rag is too dry. But me doing this at a professional level, I try to keep everything moving along as quickly as I can because there's always a next place to be. So after being in it as long as I have, I just learned to do things that make sense, that are quicker. So I just have my own way, I guess. How's that? By doing things. So, and also, I was learned from a very young age to work smarter, not harder. So I try not to do that. I try not to work hard anymore. That's the number one reason why. But the other reason is, if you're more efficient, you actually are faster. And if you're faster, you make more money. And if you're good, you never have to come back and do any repairs to your own work. So, and I pretty well accomplished most of that, I'd say, over the years. I rarely ever get a recall. When I do, it's not over my work, usually, as much as it's over a product that I've used, like basically sealants or fixtures or things like that. So it's just minor stuff sometimes. So it's not anything major, which is nice to know that you can depend on your own work. Okay, so now I'm just going to wipe the countertop. Basically, you want to have everything as clean as you can with no dust, dirt, debris in there. And the reason why you want to do that is because if you don't, what happens is when you're grouting, you get grout on the counter, and then the dirt gets in it. You can't reuse the grout. So basically, I use the grout as my catch-all, or the counter as my catch-all. And if I get a mess down there, I can pick it back up, drop a bunch of mortar on the counter. I can pick it back up and start grouting the wall with it, and it doesn't affect it at all. And that's really a good thing, because you don't have any waste that way, right? So anyway, everything's dust-free. I'm just going to wipe up the edge of this. It's just for dust. I didn't get any dirt up there. It's just dust up there, and I don't want the dust to get into my mortar. Same with the edge of the countertop, or the edge of the counter. There's a little bit of dust there, and I don't want the dust to get into my product. Same with the edge of the window stool and the window trim itself. This was all raw wood, and I had the customer oil it over the weekend. And, well, they said they were going to oil it, so I had them do it over the weekend. They were going to hold off, and I said, no, don't hold off, because I use the power grip that I use doesn't stain too much, but it will absorb into the raw wood. And I couldn't stop it from doing that, I wouldn't imagine, so I didn't try it. I just know better. So I had them seal the wood, basically oil it, and then now that'll act as a blocker. And when I run the mortar up or the grout up against it, I should be able to clean it off because it cannot get into the grain now because the grain is now full of oil. So that's another trick. Same with this piece over here. So now, piece of my shop towel stuck to the wood. Now the wood, like I said, not sanded. It's kind of rough. It's 200-year-old wood actually. It's off the floorboards, and they made it into trim, so they didn't really do much with it. It looks like they may have run it through the planer just to knock off the big hairs or a sander of some sort, but they left the texture for sure, and it looks amazing. I like it. So, okay, now I'm going to get on to the next stage. Now I'm ready to grout. I got everything cleaned up and everything, but I'm going to show you a little trick that I use to protect my cover plate, or my fixtures. And fixtures, I mean light switches and plugins. So I just run a little tape over top before I start grouting, over top, the front edge, and that'll stop if I get any mortar on, or any grout on these. It won't get into any of the cracks and crevices or in the holes. I don't have to worry about getting electrocuted because I didn't stick my finger in there like a small kid would do. So basically I'm just taping them over with masking tape, painter's tape, I guess. And I just make sure that make sure it's stuck really well to the face. And I kind of set all the plugs and light switches back into the hole without screwing them on, just so they're out of the way, so I can grout around them and not have to worry too much about them. I usually screw them back in, but I don't have any screws here. They're not long enough, the ones that I have, so the customer's going to take care of it. This one, on this one only, usually. It doesn't happen very often. So that's that, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around, double check, make sure I got everything cleaned off, and once everything's cleaned off, then that I know for sure that nothing's going to get in the way, that I'll mix up some grout. And once I mix up the grout, it shouldn't take me too long. Basically on this one, I'm not going to do the hot water trick on the grout because it'll set up way too fast, just because I have quite a porous tile here. And I did it on the floor in the bathroom, and I almost barely made my time frame on it because it was a little more work than I thought. The reason why is because it was a small tile, and normally I do it when it's a large format tile, so it gives me a little less grout lines, but there was a fair amount of grout lines on this one, and humidity was in the air. There was just a lot of things about that day that it didn't work out as well as I wanted it to, although it did work out, and the job looks amazing, so I'm all right with it. So, but let me tell you, if you want sweat, that's how you get it. You sweat anyway, gonads off until you get it done. And there's no stopping. There's no tea break. There's no coffee break. There's no worrying about if your nose is running. You've got to keep on going. So when you do a trick like that. So it basically got me to a point where I could walk on that floor in 2 hours versus the 4 hours that it says for heavy traffic. It actually sped up my time for probably double on that. So that's just a trick that I would do, not very often, but I did it on that small space just because I wanted it over with. So now, meanwhile, there's another little added little feature in there, and the customer's going to get the plumbing done, but I'm going to drill a few holes into the floor, into the heated floor that I just installed in the bathroom, and I'll show you that at the end of the video. And basically I'm just doing it so he can screw the toilet flange to it. So he doesn't want me to put the screws or anything in it. He just wants the holes there prepped and ready for him to work with, which I can see that. So just because he doesn't have a bit to do it and I do, so I thought, well, I'll do it for you as an added bonus, no big deal. So let's get on to the next stage. Now I'm going to mix the grout. The grout is Dove Gray, or Dove Gray, whatever you want to call it. And it's a power grout product. tech product or pro. Yeah, a pro product anyway. So it sets grout in 4 hours to heavy traffic. So if you were ever into a shopping mall and you wanted to do this, or a store or whatnot, and you wanted to grout a floor and you wanted to open the store up before the end of the day, you can do that with this product. Within 4 hours, it's so hard that you won't have to worry about it. So you will chisel it out. The other good things about this product is that it is stain proof. So basically, if you throw your red wine on it, apparently it's supposed to be stain proof. Now, would I do that? I don't know. I haven't tested that theory yet, so I don't think that you should try that on your project that you're trying to do for that's turned out really well at this point. So I'd say you test that onto a test product. So basically, throw a couple tiles together on a piece of plywood and a little little leftover mortar or grout, and throw it on there and just see what happens. I don't know. Fast setting for 4-hour traffic. We know that that's a fact. I've done this over and over and over again. It's a fact. You mix a hot water in with it, and you could do it, but you got to make sure that you can touch it and get it done. I did 35 square feet. Now let me see, how many square feet is that now? 35 square feet, 40 square feet or so like that in the bathroom with the 6x6 tile, and 45 square feet maybe. Anyway, and it set up fast. Like, it went hard in the bucket before at the end of it. So I got it done, and that was all that mattered. So the rest of it was no good. Threw away. Anyway, so the next is mold and mildew resistant. So that's a good product to have, especially around the back of your sink, your countertop, anywhere where you're going to have food grade material. I guess I think that that's decent for that. Good thing to do in your showers and stuff, because you don't want any mold or mildew build up in your showers. So I just use this product for everything, really. I mean, I don't steer away from it. It's the best product to clean. It doesn't smudge. It doesn't smear. It takes me less than half the time of all the other products out there. So I really like this one. And no, I'm not a spokesperson for Power Grout. I just happened to stumble on it one day and years ago, and didn't know if I liked it at first because I get so used to using something else. But after a while, I got into it. And I'm like, wow, it's less than half the time to clean it. So that sold me. The cleanup time on this, I've been on jobs that taken me all day to clean, and come back and there's still a haze. So, but this stuff does not do that. We are golden with this stuff. It's universal for floors, walls, and countertops, which is exactly everything we do here. I do. I don't do too much in the countertop industry with tile. I think that's kind of dated itself. Not many of the people want that anymore, mainly because of the grout lines and crumbs. Crumbs get in the grout line, and the grout lines are hard to clean. I did do that at my place before, and I took a 12x12 tile and cut it into 4 and made a 6x6 tile out of it. And then what I did is I put it on a hexagon. So basically I spun it sideways, and I did my whole entire countertop that way, and a backsplash to go with it. Once I got it done, it was good, but again, if I had had this mortar at the time, or this grout at the time, instead of the grout that I used, I don't know what it was, because it was a long time ago, 20 odd years ago, then I would have probably done a little bit better. It wouldn't have sunk in as far as that one did, and I didn't like it. So that's why people are starting to steer away from that kind of industry. People still do it, but it's not as common as what it used to be. Crack and shrink resistant doesn't mean it's gonna not shrink or crack. It just means it's resistant to that, and it's not too bad. Like, I'd say it's probably one of the better products for that. It doesn't. I don't ever seem to appear to have any problems with the shrinkage or crackage on any of my projects that I know of. I'm not usually around, and I don't usually get called back, so I say that there's probably a reason. I come back to do other projects, not usually to come back to do the same project. So 0 VOCs in this product as well, which is handy to have, and exceeds ANSI A118-7 specifications. So that's a good product all the way around. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm not going to use this whole 20-pound bag probably, or sorry, 10-pound bag. I might use 8 pounds of it. So, but I might end up doing it in 2 mixtures. So I can do this side of the countertop, do that side of the countertop backsplash. So that will give me time to clean this side before I move on. Just because it is rough and I don't know what this is going to work like. So I probably could get away with doing the whole entire thing if I work fast and then come back and washing the whole entire thing, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to mix half, and I'm going to do this, not half, I'll probably mix half, do this side, and then I'll mix the other half and do that side. Well, I don't know, but I'll mix in half for this, probably a little less than half for this. Anyway, so I'm going to get on that, and I'll show you what happens here in a second. Now, I'm mixing this with a stir stick, and I used to, and lots of times I will, mix the product, the grout, with the, see, you can see it there, with the mixer. Now, I don't know. I kind of like using the stir stick sometimes, and I kind of like using the mixer sometimes. Because you can overspin this stuff and make it set up faster than you want, actually. So you need to be careful. I think you can anyway. I don't know if that's a fact, but it seems like sometimes when I do it, it seems like it sets up faster when I spin it. And if I don't want it to set up, because it takes longer to grout a backsplash than it does to grout a floor. For any of you that don't know that. Sometimes, in some cases, because of the all the grout lines. So you have to be on it. Now you mix this for 2 or 3 minutes, and then what I do is, because I like to make sure that we have a good mixture, is I'll mix it for 2 or 3 minutes, and I've already been mixing it before I start the camera on, so I already pretty well had it mixed. And now what I do is I kind of let that set for a couple minutes, maybe. And it doesn't really say to do that in the package, but I do it anyway. And the reason why I do that is to make sure that all the moisture and all the color is going to take, all the powder is going to take all the excess moisture in there and absorb it. And then I'll give it a stir again, and that will make sure that I have the true color that it's supposed to have, and all the chemicals are all mixed together. And when you're mixing this, it's got quite a little bit of powder, like it's a light dust. You probably should have a mask on if you're mixing it like this close to your face. I didn't use a mask. What I do is when I first pour it in and I stir it until I get it all covered in the water, is I turn my head and then I just kind of don't breathe for a minute until that little puff of white cloud dust is dissipated. And then I continue on. So I just sat there for, I don't know, probably not a minute or so, but you can tell because it kind of gets like, when you're stirring it, you'll get to a point where it almost feels like it's going to get real hard because the moisture's all gone because it's kind of absorbed. And then when you let it set for for a minute or two, then you give it a shake again, all the moisture seems to appear, and then the whole product seems to be more like a dough. A dough, like if you're making bread. So maybe not a little bit runnier than that, maybe a cake mixture. Anyway, so then you know for a fact that you've got a real good mixture in there. Because before I let it set, it wouldn't do that. It wouldn't fall off my stick. So, but after I let it set, I stirred it again, and all the liquid seemed to come back up. And now I can kind of it's almost like frosting. Liquid's there. Everything's good. So now, that's that. Now, got a grout float here. I've got a pair of gloves because I don't know if I need the gloves so much for this stage, but I will use them on the cleaning stage. I'm gonna put them on anyway, just because it keeps it like this stuff will stain your hands. Kind of like working on a vehicle to stain your hands. The oil. It comes off in the shower. Well, it's not too dark. I find if you get the real dark color, it doesn't come off so easy. But anyway, there it is. And basically, it'll just go on. And you got to make sure you work it at all directions here. So you want it not to be. You don't want to go straight on your grout line here. Try to keep your excess to a minimum that you leave behind. You want to really try to use that the best you can, because it'll take up twice the grout, and you want to throw most of it away because you'll be in your wash bucket. If you just, all you have to do really just kind of take your grout float and spin it on a 90 to the wall and use it like a plow, and it'll just scrape it, or a scraper, and it'll just scrape it right off the excess, and you can just reuse it and to fill in a few more grout lines for you. And that's the reason why I clean off the grout off the countertop before I start it, is because now I have grout onto the countertop edge, and I want to be able to use it. So I can just scrape it like you just seen and use it with no worries. And to make sure that you get this in, there's a 1/8 space in the jolly. It's made that way. It's got the little spacer in there, so you can get a little grout down the edge of the jolly. So you make sure you do get grout in there, because if not, it'll look like you're missing a piece, like a tooth missing. So the other thing is, I don't worry too much about getting it on the paint on the wall, like I just did there. Then I'll wipe off. Due to the texture of this tile, it appears that it's going to take a fair amount of more grout comparatively to other grouts or other tiles. I mean, so just try to keep your excess to a minimum that you're leaving behind. Try not to leave too much behind. And grout is money, obviously, and it's not cheap. About $68 a bag with taxes. Depending on where I get it, $58 at the other store with taxes. Just depends on who has what I need that day. I've already used half of what I made up. So, just to let you know, I'm hoping I have enough in a 10-pound bag to do this project. I don't have any extra here. So, that'll keep you aware. Make sure that you don't leave any mess behind. Just making sure that up around the top edge of the cabinet is completely full. I want that grout line completely full. Want it to be nice and smooth and not look like a piece missing in the grout. So now, that one there is now grouted. Now we're into the cleanup stage on it. And just take your time. That's why I didn't mix up too much, because I didn't want to waste it. I didn't want it to go hard, but I want to take my time, make sure that I got, this is quite a textured tile. I want to make sure I have all my grout lines full. And I didn't miss any. If you notice, I try to go back and forth all directions. But sometimes you still miss something. Sometimes it doesn't go in the way it should. You just got to make sure that everything is tickety-boo. Everything's good. So, and what I like to do is not throw away my extra. I have a little bit left in the bucket, and I'm not going to throw that away. I'm hoping I can use it over there. It was not hard, but I'm not going to throw it away, because if I throw it away and I have a hole in here somewhere, I don't have anything to fix it. I mix this with cold water. It's going to take a fair amount of time to harden, so it's not going to be like days, but it's going to be, I'll have a good half hour or so before I have to deal with it too much. So, okay, I'm going to get the cleaning material, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I've let this set now for a couple minutes, and I like it to set. That allows it to harden a little bit. and not too much, but just enough to make it set a little easier, or grab a little bit to the tile. Put my gloves on, so I've got my gloves all, I have mortar on them. I'm going to wipe that off with the bucket here in a second. I find with the gloves, a little trick is if you fold the cuffs down like this on the outside, if you put your hand up like this, the water that runs down the face of the glove will sit in the cup and it won't run down your arm. And so when you tip your hand back down to put it in the bucket, it will actually empty itself, in theory. So, okay. Just gonna got my mop or my bucket here sitting in a chair because I don't want it to sit on the countertop because it kind of takes up all my space. So I've got a plastic bag over top of the chair just to make sure that I don't leave any mess. Or stool. It's just a wooden stool. So. And what I like to do first is go around all my edging and clean off any debris or any smudging off all my cabinets, off all walls, anything that I'm not wanting to get ruined at the end. So I like doing that first. And the reason why it comes off easier when it's wet than when it does after it's hardened. So. And really what I'm trying to do here is I'm just cleaning off the excess. I'm not trying to make it smudge free. So you see me try to wipe it 2 or 3 times on the same side of the sponge and do all the things that you learned not to do over the years from seeing other people or doing it yourself. That's okay. You can have your opinion. I'm doing this to clean off all my big clumps. I'm not worried about anything else right now. I'm not worried about trying to clean the tile. I just want the clumps and the big marks and stuff off anything that's going to stay without grout. So now I've got that done. I'm just going to lightly run my sponge over my wall, my project, because over the tile. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to what I'm trying to do is just plane off, make sure I got a good plane on all the grout lines and no excess on the tile. So I'm not really worried too much yet about trying to make sure that my tile grout lines are perfect. That's not at this stage of the game. Right now I'm just trying to pull off all the excess grout and plane my mortar, or plane my grout lines, sorry for the mistake. So I have true grout lines together and everything will look nice. And the reason why I do it this way, you can see, now, there's a pinhole. 2 pinholes. One right there, one right there, one right there. That's the reason why I do not throw away my mortar, or my grout. Jeez, I gotta stop saying that. Okay. Because in the middle of things, now I have material to fix any air pocket that may occur in the grouting stage. Even now, I run the grout float 2 or 3 different directions. That does not make it perfect. Now, I'm taking off all my excess, all the excess or remainder of the grout that I left behind at the float stage. Now what I'm going to do is just make sure I have all my edges nice, all the excess. I'm going to clean my sponge and go down all the corners. Make sure they're all flat and not rounded. Now, this is the other reason why I clean my countertops before and make sure that they're to a bare product before I grout. And the reason I do that is because I can wash easily. I can wash the countertop easily. I know for a fact there's no staining there. And everything's going to look good. This is the reason why I tape around all my plugs and light switches. One thing is I got a wet sponge. If I hit live terminals, I could be electrocuted, and I don't want to be electrocuted. So it's a safety thing. And the other thing is I don't need to worry about, for instance, this one here. They got mortar on it, or grout on it. I gotta stop saying that. I gotta say the right product here. Anyway, the one that got grout on it, I don't need to worry about taking the grout off it because the tape will take it off it. So I don't need to worry about washing it, which is less chances of being shocked by electricity. So I have a little bit on the counter at the upper cabinet. I'm just taking my sponge down the side of it. Now I'm not caring too much if I get a smear on the cabinet. Now, I know that sounds bad, but I'm not caring too much if I do, as long as I get the heaviness off. And the reason why is because I have a thing called shop towels, and the shop towel will actually pick up any of this little bit of a haze that will leave on the counter, and as long as I wet it a little bit, and it won't come back. It does a nice job of picking it up, that's for sure. So now, that's that stage. So now, while that's wet, if you're real careful about this, you can make a ball with this stuff. You don't want to make it so it's going to dig in any grip line. And you can just wipe it over top the front edge of the tile, lightly. You're not trying to dig it in. Don't dig it in. Make sure your corners are all rounded on your towel. Just lightly. That'll pick up any excess water. It'll also pick up all the smudges. And it'll allow it to dry up a little quicker. Now, I do cheat a little bit. I do wash all my grout. I do wash with hot water, and that allows it to set up quicker. I don't mix it necessarily with hot water. Hardly ever do I do that. Once in a while I do, like the other day, but there. Now, just that quick and easy. that is now done. I can leave that alone, and I might have a little smudge on it. I'll let it set for an hour or so, and now I don't have to worry about it. Now, the only thing I have left to do now is just to seal the edge where the countertop goes, and that's done. That's how quick that is. I remember years ago, it wasn't that quick. I remember taking all day to do something small like that. So now we're going to spin you over into the other side. And I'm going to grout this side now. But before I do that, I'm going to have to make up more grout. I don't have enough. And I'll see you in a second. All right, so now what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of waiting for my grout. I've got it all mixed up. I'm just letting it do its little thing. And I'm going to give it another stir here in a minute. And once I do that, I'm going to start going on the other side. So just bear with me for half a second.